You can't be watching it. What you watching? Just kind of bit on whilst you're riding. Fax machine. He's going to fact you.
It's asking for the signal. I can't, it's not very good area, so I have to do.
Have you really faxed you yet?
I don't think they remember me a lot. That's when you do the burnout. I guarantee it's only motocross around the fax machine. You might be doing a motorbike.
It's a 1, 2, 3 view. With the dodgy angle of the red line.
Yeah.
I've hit him like 6 times now. Come on.
Mark, watch your leg. Yeah. What? Around your leg. And then he's pissed it off, so it's going to end up biting.
Bite him. It does not bite.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's got a fax machine, TV, and that little silver there in the aerial.
I'm so confused with this. Why do you need a fax machine?
What's the legality of me having a TV using a fax machine?
Fucking people want it. I guess it'll be the same as the section of driving. What's down here?
TV on his bike.
Yeah, I don't think everything can work with fax
Don't give him ideas. You don't want a teammate on back. 2 separate little cups on there.
I can't touch you, I'm allergic.
The one I was going to buy was... Well, I commend you on your effort there, buddy. Thank you very much for letting us in.
The next time you stop someone and you've got a fax machine on the bike, you know what to do.
I'll rip the fax machine off, so you're the only one.